It's so great to be meeting with you. My name is Naomi.
Yeah,
Pronouns are they, them, and I manage A&R and publications for ANGVIS.
awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I would love to start off and just hear a little bit about you, like how you identify, about your music, a little bit about your backgrounds.
Yeah, so my name is actually Aria too, obviously with less A's. Pronouns she, her. For music, I got into EDM like 2011
Mm-hmm.
and like immediately loved it. Like right at the time that Fade Into Darkness and Levels were like IDs, that's like right when I was like, oh, hey, I really like Avicii. Oh, actually, I just really like electronic music. So yeah,
Yeah,
ever since then, I've just been like enamored by the whole thing.
that's cool. When did you, how
Yeah.
long have you been producing for then?
Uh, it wasn't long after I heard it, so it was probably like late 2011, early 2012 that I was like, how I wanted to know how they made this, and my like college roommate at the time told me that it was like Fruity Loops. So I found out that it was like FL Studio, downloaded FL Studio, and made like the worst things you could imagine to hear.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and like over time, I've just been super on and off, just busy with life and stuff. But lately, I've had a lot of free time and been really getting back into it. And it doesn't sound like awful anymore, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you do this anymore, but sometimes I'll go back and open up my project files from like 4 years ago and be like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah, I lost my original laptop that had like my first ever creations on it, so I'm a little sad about that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I even have stuff from like 2017 where it started to get a little bit better, but
Yeah.
it was still pretty tough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
great. Well, yeah, so yeah, as it's March, it's Women's History Month, which is super exciting. And you're also the first woman on the ANGVIS label, which I'm so excited
that's
for. So
awesome.
welcome to the ANGVIS family.
So
And
happy to be here.
yeah, yeah. So you've got your first release with us coming up.
Yep.
It's dark and energetic and just packed with punch, and I love the vocal on it too. I wanted to know what your process was behind that,
Yeah.
who your inspirations are.
Yeah. So in terms of inspirations, like I I really Kirby and Nostalgics lately have been two of my like biggest inspirations. You know, Kirby has a lot of like syncopated drum patterns and just really like clean sound that I admire, and like Nostalgics has this like whimsical bass house almost in a
Yeah,
way. And then you have artists like Miro, who's really up and coming now on
yeah,
in Amsterdam. So I they are my biggest inspirations for like where bass house is at the moment. Um, all that. And with Money Speaks, I kind of started with just like I wanted something a little more I can't think of the word, but just more like punchy rather than just like a instead of going in like a very bass like abstract direction, wanted to try and just make it like very
yeah,
yeah, just punchy in general. So
yeah,
I started out with that, and then it kind of back in the day, I was like really inspired by Blaster Jackson WW. I loved the big room era, and I was all about it. So it's funny because a lot of that big room inspiration ends up finding its way into my tracks even now. And it's
yeah,
funny because like Money Speaks, the first 16 bars, the first like half of the drop does sound a little big room like, and then it kind of adds that like more bassy bass house
yeah,
in the second half of each drop.
yeah,
And funny enough, the vocals were like the song was totally finished, mastered, and everything, and the vocals were like the last thing for me to just throw on top, like
yeah,
pretty quickly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. What I really liked about that track is both drops are so like four on the floor. Like normally you hear that as like a switch up for like the second drop to just like go crazy, and you just went crazy like throughout the whole song. So I thought that was really fun.
yeah. There's a lot of there's a strong bass music scene here in Oklahoma City, And I I like the sound of bass music. I really like that four to the floor. I love like when a bass house track can be basically dubstep, but still be on that like high energy four to the floor. That's my favorite. That's where I want to put myself when making a bass house track. And I mean, if it's not melodic, then yeah, it's got to be like
Yeah.
four to the floor, crazy sounds, ear candy all over the place. And that's kind of what I try to do with Money Speaks.
Yeah, for sure. I think you just answered my next question, which was what draws you to Bass House? I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah. Uh, man, it all started. It all started with Kirby when he switched from Future House to Bass House.
Yeah.
Because I knew of him beforehand, and I was like okay with Future House and some of the bouncier stuff, but there was that song Redeem that he came out with that like just sucked me in immediately, and that's when I knew that oh, bass house is for me. It's like it's hard hitting, it's intense, but it doesn't lose that like house four to the floor, just
Yeah.
the high energy stuff that I like.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I first got into EDM, like back in 2015, Bass House is what I started with. And I was, before I produced, I was a shuffler. So I was like a big like Jaws fan and like Oliver Heldens and yeah,
Okay.
that was my life.
Yeah, Jaws like one of the pioneers of bass house.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was cool, and I just like I really like where it went. Yeah, with where it's going, it's getting a little techy for me. I like tech house, but want to keep that energy very high. So
Yeah, and I
about
think
to
the great thing about house music is like, dubstep, like different genres of EDM, they have their peaks and then they kind of go down and like now it's like drum and bass, but house kind of like is always constant. Like you can kind of always count
right.
on it popping off. So, yeah.
Yeah, house is what I started with and what I'll continue with, and drum
Yeah.
and bass is cool, but if there was going to be any other thing I venture into, it might be techno. Still four to the floor for that. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, so what can we expect from your project within this next year? And also what are your aspirations for the next few years?
for this next year, I definitely intend to keep releasing bass house, but I am starting to look into hard techno, which is just something that some of my friends here have been playing. One friend in particular, she's like known in Oklahoma City for being like the techno DJ, and some of the stuff she plays is just it makes me go, it makes me feel feral,
Yeah,
and
it's a good
yeah,
point.
techno is like probably the only other genre that can do that to me other than bass house. So very interested in maybe doing some hard techno, like borderline hard style, without actually being hard style.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's probably yeah.
that's very fun. That's very fun. So yeah, similarly, I'm a drum and bass producer, and when I produce drum and bass, 4x4 is starting to become a thing as well, where it's like it sounds like turbo psytrance. It's called Donk. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Okay, I have heard of it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
cool. Um, but yeah,
yeah, drum and bass. There's I've like that's another genre that I've like really thought about. Drum and bass is like it's calling my name a little bit. It seems more difficult to me than some of the some of the bass houses, even though bass house is like crazy technical like all the time. Drum
yeah.
and bass is just one that I've had a little trouble with, along with dubstep. So
Yeah, but yeah, I think you do a great job with your music with doing all of the ear candy because Bass House really gives me the feeling that it's like so fast and then you have ear candy here and there and like a little switch up in the drums like right before the next section. It just feels like there's always something going on.
yeah, yeah, and that was what I struggled with the most when I first started producing was like figuring out when was appropriate to have some ear candy. How do I implement it? And like that's just something I really enjoy doing now. And like a lot of the ear candy is just samples that have been bastardized into something completely different and chopped up, and like for a tiny little fill it could be like five samples that have been pitched, modified, distorted, like
Yeah.
destroyed, like all on top of each other to just make some kind of silly little ear candy. So I don't know. That's something that like was one of my weaknesses, and I've really liked getting better at it, and you know,
Yeah.
giving people what they didn't know they wanted.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to transition since it is Women's History Month and just ask you about your experiences being a woman in the EDM industry and also in bass house. If you've if you feel like you've had to
Yeah.
endured any challenges of any sort.
Um, I personally haven't, on the basis of being female, haven't had too many challenges. The scene around here can be a little clicky,
Yeah.
and it's there are some people who treat it kind of like a fraternity,
Yeah.
and so I haven't had direct involvement with them, probably because I'm not just one of their fraternity brothers. But I do know that when they do bring in women, uh, they can sometimes give them the less desirable sets, not take what they say seriously, and I mean, I see the challenges there, although I think I'm still a little too new to have really faced a lot of them myself,
Yeah.
which is good because, and also like surrounding yourself with good people and like other women is the most important thing because my
Yeah.
closest friends who are DJs are all women, and we have each other's backs because like many other people won't.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think also I think it's kind of undeniable though on the larger scale that there is a big like gender inequality gap. Just if you pretty much look at any lineup, and you just analyze like what percent is men versus women, it's like, sometimes it's those like 5% women or there's just like two people on the lineup. Do you feel like you've seen that around?
Yeah, for like the bigger festivals, I can definitely see that there's
Yeah.
a gap, but albeit it is getting better, and I'm really happy about it. With like you got one of my inspirations, Nostalgics, now cracking into like Ultra and these huge festivals, and all it felt very noted. I know it wasn't started by her, but um, it all kind of like seemed like it started shifting with Rez, and
Yeah.
I really like appreciate what she did for bringing other women into DJing and producing and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and also for supporting the LGBT community, which is that's
Yes,
awesome. Yeah.
absolutely.
Especially with her dildo collection. I don't know if you heard
I
about that.
saw that.
It's sold out within like 30 minutes, which was it's
I
just
did see about that. I
very funny.
I'm so happy for her. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I was wondering if you if you plan to or if you have any ideas of, when you get bigger and when you keep growing of how you can aid that closing that gender inequality gap. Or I don't know if there
Yeah, like go
go
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I kind of want you to finish the question.
Oh, yeah, or maybe I don't know if you like participate in any like women-based collectives or anything in your area that kind of
Mhm.
tries to push for that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so like I said, all my DJ friends are women, and we're actually all part of the LGBTQ community as well. So
awesome.
I'm like at home with them, and we're constantly trying to plug each other into stuff, and just constantly boosting each other up because again, like I kind of LGBT and women's you know issues in music, they have a lot of the same problems with the
Yeah.
representation and the discrimination. So
Yeah.
on both fronts, we're constantly like fighting for each other and everything. And I actually am playing at a mural festival in June that is women and non-binary focused. So
Okay.
I'm really excited to be a part of that, and continue to try and push for I don't know, just like more women focused things. Like I know there's a festival that my good friend is playing at in September, and it's geared specifically toward women. So I don't know. I would really like to be an inspiration for like women, queer people, anybody really, but especially women and queer people, and um, try not to try not to gatekeep people for whatever reason, because I mean, that's a huge problem in the music industry. So,
Yeah, totally, totally. So what advice then would you give to younger producers who are women or in the LGBT community who might be facing certain challenges?
right. There's so many problems in the music industry in general, like,
Yeah.
what genre this, um, but like, the thing that I've just found is just kind of like be yourself, like make what genre makes you happy. Like,
Yeah.
I, there's actually a stereotype with trans women in particular that we all are DJs and producers, like, and then you look at like Hunter Gex and Sophie and, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
and I kind of that stereotype is kind of funny, but just be yourself and make what you like, and if people don't like what you have to put out, then I mean, they don't need to listen to it. You'll find plenty of people within the electronic music community that are friendly and willing to help you achieve your goals. And I
Yeah.
know Plur isn't like as big as it once was back in like the quote unquote heyday,
Yeah.
but it still lingers. And I find that most people are very accepting and they just want to listen to good music, regardless of
Yeah.
who makes it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about your journey, about your experiences, any aspirations?
Um, yeah, like I'm gonna circle back to the queer thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I forgot that they're like surrounding yourself with people who want to see you succeed and good people is imperative. And there have been situations where I've been in that like I just maybe a venue, maybe the crowd where it's a little dodgy, and just learning what you need to do to protect yourself and learning how to say no to things. Like there's a chance that I had have a very big opportunity in the future with a certain production, and I'm gonna have to say no because it just happens to be extremely threatening and unsafe for me.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah.
much as I'd love to do it, like and just yeah, just learning how to say no, learning, surrounding yourself with the people who can protect you and make
Yeah.
you push yourself further.
Yeah. I wish there was just like more widespread like queer representation kind of like the way that I kind
Yeah,
of look at like lineups and stuff is, there are a lot of collectives and stuff that are run by cis men, and kind of how they include women is that they have like a ladies' night where women are DJing. And I'm like, that's great, but how about we just have women on every lineup without having to say anything? Because then that's still like alienating women in a different way. Like, yes, it's
right.
giving them a podium, but it's like a separate podium instead of putting them on the same podium. So
I totally agree. Having ladies' night is there's nothing wrong with it, but as long as you're not every other night isn't dudes' night,
yeah,
like you're
yeah,
gonna have to have the ladies in. And like I've been lucky that the venues that I played at, for the most part, are super friendly. They book based on availability and not like any other reason. And it just
yeah,
happens sometimes that it is a ladies' night. And but yeah, I I agree with you very much on
yeah.
that point.
And I think also, like using certain terms such as like women or ladies, it's normally like, yes, they're the main group that is underrepresented is women, but in a sense that also it kind of excludes transgender or non-binary individuals. And I guess
Yeah.
me being like a non-binary individual, when somebody says like, "Oh, this is a women's event," I kind of wonder like, am I included or excluded in that? Because there is no separate like non-binary event, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, yeah, other than
Yeah,
I know that the struggle for non-binary people is oftentimes like, where do I fit into things and how can I be included with this without following your men's night, ladies night, like type of
yeah,
thing. And there's not enough for it right now. But that would be something interesting, I think, is like to include non-binary people in um, just like these type of things. Like when they have a ladies' night, maybe instead of renaming it that, you can call it something else. Like
Yeah.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And also, I've seen lots of clubs do the thing where they're like, dudes, $40, ladies, you're free before 10. After that, it's like $5, and it's like that's not good. That's not inclusion. Like, and that's the type of place that I'm trying to avoid as a transgender person.
Yeah, definitely.
Personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I was discovering more about you, I saw your song Lesbian Heartbreak, and that's how I knew you're part of the community. So I appreciated
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that one's not about me. It's actually about one of my best friends.
that. Okay,
Because
okay.
I'm originally from New York, New Jersey. It's about her,
Got it.
and yeah, that was the whole thing. But both those songs in the EP are just told from two different sides of
Oh,
the relationship. So
that's actually
yeah,
so
that was very interesting.
interesting. That's really interesting that you had
Yeah.
like one perspective as one song and the other perspective as the other. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. It was a tough situation for them, but they still listen, or I don't know about the other one, but my friend still listens to it to this day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy that she liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. This was a great conversation. And again, I am so excited to have like the first woman on the label. And yeah, welcome to the ANGVIS family. And yeah, we can't
I'm
wait to see see what else you do. Yeah.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me for in the family and also for this interview. I appreciate it.